Sonic just formed his own Justice League, and it's amazing. What's up, my comic comrades? That's right, today we're jumping back into the DCX Sonic series because two of the most Saturday morning things I've ever seen in comics just happened. With the first thing being that Sonic and his friends just became the Justice League. Literally. Sonic is the Flash, Shadow is Batman, Knuckles becomes Superman, and so on. And as for the second thing, we'll leave that for later, because it's just ridiculous in the best way possible. Now, we've covered the first issue in this episode right here, and it was a ton of fun, with Sonic racing the Flash and the rest of the DC heroes meeting the Sonic family. But the last two issues have just turned this into a must-read title for me. In fact, I need this to be an animated movie, but enough chit-chat. Let's show you why, starting with issue 2. So another important thing we learned in the first issue is that Darkseid has invaded Sonic's world looking for the Chaos Emeralds in order to achieve unlimited power. With that said, the first page of issue 2 opens with Darkseid holding a Chaos Emerald while saying, "It all starts with this, a gem containing the ultimate power." Sonic says, "Is this the guy, Flash? Darkseid?" Flash responds, "That's him, Sonic. Whatever you faced in the past, consider him worse." Sonic then tells him, "Cool, I like a challenge." As they both begin to speed blitz Darkseid, Sonic starts tagging Darkseid while Flash tries to take the emerald from his hand. But none of this affects the new god, and he just slaps both of them away as Flash gets slammed. Flash then picks himself up and looks at Darkseid, telling Sonic, "Oh hell, run," because we see Darkseid is charging up his Omega beams. As Darkseid fires them, Sonic tells Flash, "I can't shake it. Any ideas?" Flash says, "Come at me. You go high, I'll go low." It works, causing the Omega beams to hit each other, at which point Darkseid teleports back to his ship. Flash then radios into the Justice League saying, "Darkseid has one of the Chaos Emeralds. Sonic wasn't fast enough to stop him." Sonic says, "Hey," because remember from the first issue, Sonic and Flash have a rivalry going on about who's the fastest, and it's pretty great. Superman and Knuckles haven't found anything, Wonder Woman and Amy are taking a second to recharge Amy's vehicle, Batman and Shadow still are searching, Green Lantern and Silver haven't found anything, and Cyborg and Tails are almost done creating a tracker for the emeralds. We are then taken back to Darkseid's ship, the Ragnarok, as Darkseid says to Desaad, "Report." Desaad says, "1,000 apologies, Lord Darkseid. The search for the Chaos Emeralds is ongoing." Darkseid replies, "You directed me to one. What is the delay with the others?" Desaad responds, "It's the nature of their power, my lord. It's chaotic, unruly. It's almost as if they're actively trying to hide from Fatherbox." Darkseid replies, "The Justice League has arrived on this world, and they will undoubtedly complicate matters. Send my elite warriors to scour the globe. Leave no stone unturned, no structure standing. Burn this world to its foundation and sift through the ashes. I shall apply this to that dimensional engine and see if it's truly worth the effort." We are then taken to Cyborg and Tails. Cyborg tells them a bunch of Apocalypse forces just launched. If they've got even a passing idea of where the emeralds are, Tails interrupts saying, "Then we could cross-reference that with our own data and bingo. We've got solid search coordinates." Cyborg then gets the rest of the League on the line saying, "Heads up, League, I'm sending you the emeralds closest to you." We then see Flash and Sonic racing to one as Flash says, "I'm telling you, I could move within a picosecond." Sonic replies, "Aw, your speed can still be measured? That's adorable." Batman responds, "We have a plan of action, but what's our contingency? Darkseid already has mythic arcane power and can gain more. We may not be able to counter that." Superman replies, "We'll find the other emeralds and retrieve the one he stole. We won't fail this world." Wonder Woman then says, "Batman's right. We need to plan for the worst, even while hoping for the best. What are our options if things get dire?" Cyborg replies, "I have an emergency boom tube prepped to return to the Watchtower. If things go sideways, we have an immediate exit." Green Lantern then says, "That's not enough to evacuate the planet. Can't we do better than that?" Superman finally adds, "We'll rise to the occasion like we always do. And if we need a little extra help, we could put our faith in our new friends." After this, we see the Justice League start fighting Darkseid's elite warriors, such as his son Calabac and Steppenwolf. As Batman and Shadow fight Steppenwolf, Steppenwolf says, "The mortal man and a tiny animal wish to challenge Steppenwolf? Very well, I will award your heads along with the gem to my lord Darkseid." Batman then throws a flashbomb at Steppenwolf as he says, "A pathetic attempt to blind me, mortal." Shadow then comes in punching Steppenwolf over and over extremely fast, saying, "Not blind, distract." Using chaos control, Batman then tells Shadow, "Impressive, you move faster than I could perceive." Shadow responds, "There's no way you could have. I use chaos control to stop time." Batman then tells him that might be the key to undermining Darkseid. Shadow says, "Of course, I am the ultimate," but before he finishes the sentence, the bridge they're on starts shaking, and that's because we see that Darkseid has put the Chaos Emerald he found into his engine. Darkseid then says, "Fascinating, its legendary power is legitimate. The very essence of space and time is beginning to warp. With just this this one, I could annihilate this world with all 7 universes. Batman then says, Batman to League, we're officially out of time. We need to shift focus to Darkseid now. Superman replies, I agree, but we need a way for all of us to reach the Ragnarok. Tails, do you have anything? Tails, who's in his plane, says, sorry, no. I don't think my fleet of planes can handle that kind of approach. Sonic says, hold that thought, gang. We might have a volunteer for a rideshare, as he sees Dr. Eggman arrive in his ship. Eggman then makes his way to Sonic and Flash saying, Sonic, I imagine you're already embroiled in confronting this interdimensional invading force. Flash says, I'm going to take a wild guess and say that's your nemesis. Sonic replies, got it in one. Dr. Eggman is a mad mechanical genius out to conquer the world. Flash then tells him, bald too. Superman has one of those back home. Eggman then says, don't start with me, Red. I'm already here against my better judgment. But a threat of this magnitude necessitates extraordinary measures. I'll get you up to that grotesque flying face. You and your costume compatriots will handle the rest. Flash asks, I don't know, Blue. Can we trust him? Sonic replies, for the short term, yeah. He stands to lose as much as the rest of us. So let's round up everyone and go wipe our feet on Darkseid's face. And with that, they crash Eggman's ship into Darkseid's as the Justice League then raid Darkseid's ship with Flash stating he found the Emerald and Darkseid. Faster than Sonic could, I should add. Converge on my location. Sonic then arrives saying, you just got lucky. I went the other way. Flash tells him, cope, little man. Darkseid then turns around saying, I will give your world credit for one thing. You have tenacity, as he fires his Omega beams, but Superman comes to block them saying, you both need to pick up the pace. That's when Flash and Sonic say to each other, truce. Batman says, neutralize that device, keep Darkseid occupied, and retrieve the Emerald. As all of the Justice League and Sonic and his friends start attacking Darkseid, Shadow starts using his Chaos Control on Darkseid. But Darkseid can withstand it, saying, Father Box discovered much about your world, about Chaos Control. That promise of power and control drew me here. Shadow then says, impossible, but Darkseid breaks free from Wonder Woman's lasso, saying, to most mortals, assuredly, but not to you, for you are the ultimate life form, and not to me, for Darkseid is. Sonic then tells Flash, looks like he's charged up the doohickey. You want to wreck it or grab the Emerald? Flash replies, Emeralds are your thing. I could use the Speed Force to disrupt that dimensional what's it? Flash goes to do just that, saying, alright, just ease my molecules through the weird apocalypse energy. Find whatever looks like a critical circuit and break it, as we see Sonic trying to take the Emerald from Darkseid while saying, for God's sake, you're really materialistic. You need to let go. Darkseid replies, you were beneath my notice before. You will not evade my Omega beams again. Flash then says, Cyborg, any insight into what I'm looking for, Victor? It's like I'm grasping at smoke. Cyborg replies, the dimensional energies are way out of sync. Darkseid was being sloppy crossing over. This Chaos Emerald fueled engine isn't playing by any rules. At this point, Darkseid gets fed up saying, enough, blasting everyone back. Cyborg says, I'm reading spikes in chronons, gravitons, and tachyons. We're looking at total quantum collapse. Tails then says that dimensional engine is stabilizing. Time and space aren't going to mean anything in a minute, as Darkseid says, I will bend it back to my will. Superman has Darkseid in a headlock, and he says, no, don't let him regain control. Wonder Woman, also restraining Darkseid, says, we have to hold the line here. Batman then speaks up saying, Lantern, the assets, Cyborg, the boom tube, as all of Sonic and his friends are put in a Green Lantern construct bubble. They ask, what are you doing? Batman tells them, putting our faith in you. As Cyborg opens up a boom tube, sending Sonic and his friends to the Watchtower, which is orbiting above the Justice League's Earth. When they arrive, Mr. Terrific says, what? Who are you? Sonic replies, Cyborg sends regards. As Mr. Terrific says, then you're from the world Darkseid was attacking. The League sent you through? Tails replies, reality was collapsing. They sent us through to protect us. Amy then says, we have to reopen the boom tube and help them. Mr. Terrific tells them, I can't. There are no dimensional coordinates to target. Your world is gone. Darkseid, the Justice League, and everything else, gone. And with that, the issue ends. But we get to move right into the third issue. Now, when you read stories like this, there are always moments where you wish you could change little things here and there, which is why I guess so many of us are fans of immersive gaming. Like this amazing fantasy game right here, where you get to build a huge arsenal of champions to battle intense villains. I'm talking about Raid Shadow Legends, and in a sec, we'll show you how to land epic champions and other dope bonuses totally free. For starters, Raid, who we're excited to have as today's sponsor, basically has an endless amount of content. We've been playing for years, and they are just constantly adding something new to keep things fresh and fun. And I mean new champions, new battle arenas, bigger, badder bosses, and even whole new factions. But it's the lore that locks you in. Take the mysterious Sylvan Watchers faction, for example. Here's a faction who make their home in the Mist Wood, a huge jungle in the east of Teleria, which is the world Raid is set in. They don't take kindly to trespassers, but they do have a shared alliance with the Shadowkin and Dwarf factions. Now, as promised, we've got info on those freebies. All you gotta do is click our link in the description or scan our QR code to get anniversary bonuses available only only via our link. First, you'll get a huge starter pack including the epic champion Kellan the Shrike from the Sylvan Watchers faction. But you'll get another starter pack after reaching level 15 that will unlock the epic champion Uugo from the Organ Tribes faction, one of the most valuable champions in the game. And as a cherry on top, after downloading with our link, all new players will also get the legendary champion Green Warden Ruark from the Sylvan Watchers faction by using the special promo code TreeHugger. Again, that's only for new players, and they'll be available 72 hours after downloading via our custom link in the description or QR on the screen only. However, both new and existing players can snag other useful resources by using the 2 additional promo codes for all users in the description. And once you're in game, come join our clan under the name Variant Nation, and we'll see you there. Issue 3 opens up at the Watchtower as Knuckles says to Mr. Terrific, "Don't make me repeat myself, Mr. Terrific. Send us back now." Sonic says, "Easy, Knuckles, don't punch the messenger." Mr. Terrific then says, "I'm sorry, but I can't. There aren't any dimensional coordinates to use. Your world and the Justice League are gone." Silver then says, "At least that means Darkseid is gone too." Amy's all like, "Silver, how can you say that? We've lost everyone." He says, "I'm sorry, Amy. I'm just trying to find some good in this catastrophe." Tails then speaks up, "No, this can't be. Given the nature of the apocalyptic dimensional engine, factor in the energy supplied by the Chaos Emerald." Sonic then says, "Tails, what do you got for me, buddy?" Tails says, "Nothing concrete yet. I need time." Sonic tells him, "Well, the Justice League bought us plenty of it." Mr. Terrific then says, "I don't know about that. It won't be long before the villains of this world realize 6 of our greatest heroes are missing. I could put the rest of the League on high alert, but it's going to get ugly." Sonic says, "Well, that's not good. They gave their lives trying to protect our world. I think we owe it to them to return the favor." He continues to say, "So what do you think, Big T? Can your Earth handle 6 of us running around?" Mr. Terrific replies, "Between the metahumans, aliens, and interdimensional visitors, I don't think anyone will give you a second glance." We then see Silver say, "Green Lantern passed this to me right as we entered the portal. Does this mean I've been recruited?" As we see the Green Lantern ring on his finger and he turns into a Green Lantern. Mr. Terrific tells him, "It means he put his trust in you. The League put its trust in all of you. If you're joining the Justice League, you'll need to dress the part." That's right, Sonic and his friends are becoming the newest members of the Justice League. And on the next page, we see Silver, now a Green Lantern, fighting Sinestro. Sinestro says, "Free to call for backup, or do you fear what my newfound power will do to the rest of your precious Green Lantern Corps?" Silver, being helped out by fellow Green Lanterns Kilowog, Tomar-Ray, and Chip, retaliates by charging up their rings and saying the Green Lantern Oath. "In brightest day and blackest night, no evil shall escape our sight. Let those who worship evil's might beware our power, Green Lantern's light." Silver then says, "What's the matter, Sinestro? Scared?" As the Green Lanterns put their forces together to make a massive Green Lantern construct to defeat Sinestro. At this point, Chip goes through Sinestro's yellow power battery, and Silver says, "Careful, Chip, we don't know what Sinestro used to enhance this lantern battery." As we see Chip pull out a yellow emerald, Silver says, "A Chaos Emerald? But that was supposed to be lost with my home dimension. I'm not sure what this means. Sorry, but I'm going to need to report this to my friends. I'll have one of the other Earth Lanterns fill in for me, like Kyle, or Hal, or Guy, or Simon, or Jessica, or Joe," clearly making fun of how many Earth Lanterns there are. We're then taken to Washington, D.C., which is being invaded by Gorilla City, aka Gorilla Grodd and his army. And we see Supergirl and Hawkgirl there trying to fight off Grodd and his army, but they soon get an assist from Amy, who's now taking the role of Wonder Woman, even using Wonder Woman's lasso on Grodd, saying, "The League kneels to no one." The 3 superpowered women then take down Grodd, but Amy then realizes that the crown or the helmet that Grodd was wearing has a Chaos Emerald in it, so she picks it up and tells Hawkgirl, "It's from my world." She continues, "I thought everything there was gone, but if this found its way to your world, then maybe..." She then slaps herself in the face saying, "First things first, we need to drive out these invaders." We're then taken to Metropolis, where Knuckles has taken the role of Superman, patrolling Metropolis, even saying to himself while flying around, "On the one hand, this ain't so bad. It's a big city, but not nearly as big as my island. Patrolling it takes no time at all. On the other, it's a big city. So many layers, so bright and noisy. It could be challenging to keep track of it all." He then meets up with Lois and she tells him, "The League has been kind enough to keep me in the loop, but there's still no progress in finding Superman or the others." Knuckles says, "Tails is looking into it with the Teen Titans too. Until then, I've got things covered." She says, "Yeah, about that. Lex called me saying he wants to speak to you." Knuckles asks, "Why?" She tells him he knows 1, I'm one of the only people you're talking to outside the League. 2, he wants something. I told him to shove it, but if it's about Clark and the others..." Knuckles then flies off to meet Lex saying, "Yeah, I get it. I'll look look into it as she tells him, be careful, he's more dangerous than he seems. When Knuckles makes his way to Lex, he asks, I got your message, Luthor. What do you want? Luthor tells him, peace. Believe it or not, I'm a man of considerable means and I can support you in ways that the Justice League cannot and will not. We could be quite the influential duo, you and I. What do you say? Knuckles tells him, I say I've heard this before. You've been watching me? Then you'd better know I'll be watching you. Luthor tells him, a pity. You share the Kryptonian's moral flaws. I wonder, do you share his weaknesses too? As he pulls out what he thinks is kryptonite to see if Knuckles is weak to it as well. But Knuckles just grabs it saying, you found a Chaos Emerald? You finally did something right, Luthor. So it's not kryptonite at all, it's actually a green Chaos Emerald. At which point Luthor says, take it as a token of my sincerity. Think hard about what we could do together. But Knuckles just flies off before flying back, crashing into Lex's window saying, were you trying to poison me thinking this was kryptonite? Which scares the hell out of Lex. Meanwhile, in Gotham City, we see Shadow taking on the Joker. They're literally having a car chase, with Shadow chasing him in his own version of the Batmobile. The Joker even says, there he is, the shadow of the Bat. Bravo, Short Stack. I'm surprised you could reach the pedals. As he shoots a rocket launcher at Shadow. Shadow then jumps out of the Batmobile before it explodes and starts chasing the Joker on foot. Obviously, he's faster on foot than the Batmobile is, at which point he speed blitzes the Joker's car, breaking it in half. The Joker then says, not bad, you certainly have the mood down, you have the makings of a possible replacement. But there's a cadence to this sort of thing. Dreary little Gotham might expect the show. So next time, at which point Knuckles just kicks the Joker in the face, grabbing the purple Chaos Emerald that he has. And this is where we get to the second awesome thing, because from here we're finally taken to Sonic, who of course has taken the role of the Flash, as we see him racing the Reverse Flash, who's holding yet another Chaos Emerald. Sonic says, that doesn't belong to you and means the world to me. If you hand it over, I'll let bygones be bygones. But Reverse Flash says, you are in no position to make demands of me, no more than you have any right to wear that uniform. Sonic then speed blitzes in front of Reverse Flash saying, pretty judgy for someone calling himself Reverse Flash. Do they not have the sources in the future you're from? Reverse Flash says, the real Flash was a hero. I saw that myself, tempered through tragedy and loss. But you're a child playing dress up, a smart-mouthed pretender who lacks the focus and conviction to fill Flash's boots. You're not good enough to be his replacement. You're not good enough to be his fake. I'm the fastest man alive, unchallenged now. And you'll never retrieve your precious, as Reverse Flash looks at his hand, seeing that he's holding a soda can, saying, wait, what did you? Sonic then says, oh sorry, did I move too fast for you to see? Let's try again. Don't blink, as he speed punches Reverse Flash. Reverse Flash, knocked out on the floor, tries to get back up saying, so fast, did he tap into? No, it wasn't the Speed Force, he was using the Emerald to warp. Sonic, while holding the Emerald, says, that's my secret, champ. I'll take a nap while I take care of business. Sonic then gets on his comm saying, hey guys, you're not going to believe what I found in Central City. And they ask, was it a Chaos Emerald? As the rest of them all got one as well. They all then regroup at the Hall of Justice, greeted by Beast Boy. Once inside, they all show the Chaos Emeralds they found, while Tails says the Teen Titans and I managed to wrestle this away from that fanatic Brother Blood. Between us all, we found 6 of the 7 emeralds. I'm certain the last one isn't on this Earth. I've been working on a hypothesis, and now we could finally test it. Tails does and says, booyah, I knew it, as Amy jumps in saying, the other emeralds are detecting the last one is in another dimension. Does that mean, Tails says, our world survived? Silver asks, but how? Mr. Terrific said, it was wiped out. Tails says, he said he couldn't detect it. My theory is Darkseid's dimensional engine malfunctioned during the flight and hit our world in a kind of pocket dimension. Sonic then says, but now we have the other emeralds and their power can resonate with each other, revealing the way home. We could finally open a way back. Shadow interjects, telling them, the question now is if we should. Sonic is all like, why do you always have to be like that? Shadow responds, if our world survived, then Darkseid survived. Opening a way home leaves this planet vulnerable to invasion. Knuckles says they would take the chance if the situation was reversed. They would come to save us no matter the cost. It's not a question of if we're doing this, it's a question of how soon we're getting started. All in favor? As they all say, yeah, even Shadow reluctantly. Mr. Terrific then sets the dimensional coordinates that Tails gives him, but says the space-time variance is beyond acceptable parameters. Sonic then tells him it's okay. Once the Chaos Emeralds power the stabilizer, we should be safely pulled through to the other side. At which point, Mr. Terrific says, safe travels everyone, and for what it's worth, you made a damn fine Justice League. As we see the Sonic Justice League go through the portal, Tails says, alright gang, let's go be heroes. And that's where the issue comes to an end. Yeah, this is just a really fun series. If you're a fan of Sonic and the Justice League, I don't see how you don't enjoy this. I use the term all the time, but this is like a Saturday morning cartoon, fun and pure entertainment. Plus, I'm really digging seeing Sonic as Flash. Like, come on, that's something we've always talked about and was made into fan fiction. Now it's actually happening. Also, Shadow as Batman is another one. How many fan renderings of that have been made over the years? Now DC actually did it. Very curious to see how things continue in the next issue. But what do you guys think? Are you liking this series? Are you having a bunch of fun like me? Let us know. Other than that, we will see you next time when we talk about all things comics.